Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah ma ba'd. This is a frequently asked question. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us khushu and He makes us of the khashi'een. The question is asking, I've missed a pillar in my salah, or I've missed something from my salah. Do I need to do sujood? What do I do? How do I make that aspect of the salah up? Now, we've got a lecture on this from the book of Shaykh Muhammad al-Uthaymeen, where he explains the ahkam surrounding sujood al-sahu. And it requires for the Muslim to have knowledge of the salah, because there are certain things in the salah which are pillars, there are certain things which are obligatory, and there are certain things which are sunan. And if a person misses out the sunan, then, it is a big deal, because, you should have khushu', but it's not as a big deal if you missed out a pillar or an obligatory part. Okay? So what I'm going to say here might not necessarily be clear for everyone, but that requires further studies, right? If a person has missed out a pillar of the salat, then the ulama have said, some of them have said the salah is batil and he needs to repeat. Some of them say that he should X out that rak'ah. So say for example, you're in the first rak'ah. You've gone into ruku'. You stand up from ruku'. You go into sajda. You only made one sajda and you stand up again. This is the same sort of scenario that you're asking in your question, right? So he's missed two pillars, and one pillar is the sajda, and the other one is the sitting between the sajda. So he's only made one sajda and he stood up. What does he do in that scenario? Some of the ulama have said that rak'ah that he prayed, he continues with his salah, you don't break his salah now, but that first rak'ah is not even included, it's not a thing, because you didn't complete it. So now your second rak'ah becomes your first rak'ah. And in this scenario, you do sajda as-sahu, or sajdatay as-sahu, the two sajdas of sahu, before the taslim. And again, detail you will find before taslim, after taslim, and the different scenarios surrounding that in the explanation of that book. If a person has missed out a pillar, the second view is that you can go back to that pillar. Okay? So now you have stood up after making one sajda, and you're thinking, subhanAllah, I've missed my second sajda. I've missed the sitting, which is the first pillar that he's missed out, and then I've missed the second sajda. So he sits down immediately, and this is the view of the Hanabil. The Hanabil is either you X out the first rak'ah, you don't count it, or you go back to the pillar that you have missed. And then you must do sujood al-sahu afterwards. Right. If a person has missed out something which is obligatory from the salah, and they return to that position, then there is no disagreement between the ulama, is that that person's salah is invalid, because they have disrupted the flow of the salah. For example, a person stands up after two rak'at, so he's missed the first tashahhud. So he remembers, subhanAllah, missed the first tashahhud, and he sits down. They have said you have now disrupted the flow of the salah. There's no action in the salah where a person is standing and he sits down immediately. That doesn't exist. Therefore the salah is batil, because he's done something which is foreign to the salah. Now, when it comes to the pillars, that's what you would do, but when it comes to the obligatory parts, or that's an option that you can have when it comes to the pillars, but when it comes to the obligatory parts, you can't do that. And that's what I'm saying, this requires further studying as to what is a pillar and what is not a pillar. What do you do about the obligatory missed aspect? You just carry on with your salah, because it doesn't affect the validity of the salah, because the person has genuinely forgotten or made a mistake. But they must do sujood al-sahu, either before the taslim or after the taslim. And like I said, the details of that you can find in the dars. One last question: what happens if a person made a mistake and they didn't do sujood al-sahu, either of ignorance or forgetfulness? Then the ulama have said, if the person has missed it out on purpose, this is the view of the majority, then the salah is batil and he needs to repeat the salah. Others from the ulama, such as the Shafi'i and others, they have said that sujood al-sahu is sunnah and the salah is valid. That's if you've missed it out on purpose. If the person has missed it out, so he's made two errors now out of forgetfulness in the salah, and then he's forgot to do the sujood al-sahu, then the ulama have said if it's been a long period of time, then he is forgiven and it is overlooked and the salah is still sahih. But if he has forgotten to do the sujood al-sahu and it's not been a long period of time, then he does the sujood al-sahu when he remembers. What is a long period of time? The ulama have differed. And what is customary seems to be the correct view in this. So now, if you've just prayed and you're doing athkar, for example, you think, oh, subhanAllah, I've just prayed, so I can do sujood, that's fine, inshallah. Some of the ulama said from the time that the person does the afkar and leaves the masjid, now he's gone on his way, they will say, no, that's considered now as a long gap. So this is what I'm saying. What is customary seems to stand out to be the more correct opinion, because in the absence of dalil, adam muhakkama. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes the salah our comfort, and we are of those who connect to Him in a matter of khushu', so that He gives us the best of standing when we actually have to stand in front of Him yawm al-qiyamah. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على محمد.